Welcome everyone, this is Painfully Average Commentaries. My name is DoubleV.
And my name is Hulud.
And today we are doing Minas Tirith.
Minas Tirith, the home of Gondor's throne, is the last hope of men to stand against the darkness of Sauron.
Well, simply put by Gandalf.
I love that voice.
Yes. You will notice that Minas Tirith only has 3 or 4 levels, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit smaller than,
yeah.
the movie, but hey, what can you do? It's only a video game.
Maybe sometime in the future we'll see a 7-level Minas Tirith.
Maybe this is me, or I don't remember quite as many orcs just walking around.
You mean in the game or in the movie?
In the movie fiction? Maybe there was. I haven't seen the movie in a long time.
I think that there is a whole lot of orcs, to be honest, in the movie.
I mean trolls.
Oh, okay.
I got my turtle.
The armies of Mordor are approaching! We must prepare the city!
Okay.
So yeah, there's like 2, isn't it? There's 2 levels maybe now. There's a 3rd one, but can you even reach the 3rd one?
You can, yeah. You can build stuff up there. But I have no idea, like, when you lose the game. I tried figuring that out, and I actually... Do you remember in the Helm's Deep level, where I could sort of resurrect my fallen heroes and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I couldn't really find out where to do that here, but oh well.
Well, maybe you can't. But I don't think there's any level, except for maybe one of the very, very hero-specific ones, you know, in the beginning, and I suppose later on, where... If you lose the hero, you might lose, but I don't know any of the other missions where...
Maybe, but I think I also seem to remember that sometime you could, like, resurrect them at the main keep, and that would kind of make sense as well. By the way, I have a bit of a surprise for you. I took the... We talked last time about, like, voice actors and stuff.
Yeah.
And I took the liberty to check... a few of the voice actors, and I have a hilarious Seinfeld reference for you here.
Oh, really?
Because you're a Seinfeld fan, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember in the series Jerry had this Pakistani neighbor called Babu? Do you remember him?
I remember the name, but I can't remember the episode in detail.
He appears in a few episodes. He's the one who goes like, "You're a very bad man, Jerry. Very bad."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That guy, he does the voice for Theoden in this game.
Really?
Theoden. Yeah, I know. I was like,
impressive.
I had to double check it, but he does Theoden's voice in a few games. And he actually does a lot of video game voice acting these days, so that was fun to discover.
Be watchful.
Yeah, I didn't expect that one. Also,
Yeah.
I must say this is the most random assortment of heroes defending. Well, I guess because Faramir wasn't there in the movie,
Yeah.
and Boromir was definitely not here.
The only one who was there properly was Gandalf, because Pippin didn't really do anything either. He killed one orc in the movie at least.
Yeah, something like that.
But I kind of like it in a way. It would have been pretty cool, if Boromir would have survived. This is what would have happened probably, because Boromir's death didn't really affect that much in terms of what people did. I just think that Boromir would have.
If anything, if Boromir was alive, then Denethor wouldn't be quite as, how should I put it?
Mental.
Well, yeah, he would have much more faith and wouldn't have gone off the deep end.
Yeah,
the way he did in the movies, and was basically like, yeah, screw this shit. We're not gonna.
I wonder what would have happened, but probably Denethor would have, because I think officially his demise was accounted to his obsession with the ring, rather than Boromir's death. So he probably would have.
True, but he was, he was really salty about his son's death as well, if I remember correctly. Boromir's death affected him quite greatly, because he didn't have the greatest admiration for his other son, Faramir.
Yeah, I like how we're just speculating about something that, you know, it's not like this ever happened. It's just a book event, and we're speculating what would have happened if things turned out differently in the book. I don't know, it's just weird. We spend our time...
You know, it's the important questions of life. You know, we could speculate about more serious and important things, but it's not funny that.
Yeah.
You know, this is serious stuff that, I know, generations to come will have value of.
Hopefully. That's the whole point of us doing these videos.
I'm just happy seeing Sean Bean alive, because he's pretty much dead in everything else he does, so...
Yeah.
Seeing him alive for once, and seeing his pretty little face down there in the portrait. You know, it's the small things that keep you going.
He also has a different voice actor, by the way. Pretty much only Saruman, Gandalf, and like the regular Fellowship has their...
Wait,
you know.
they really didn't get Sean Bean
No.
to do the voice?
No, they have someone
I
else.
thought he sounded pretty much this exact same.
Yeah, so did I, but I think there are a lot of good impersonators out there, and to be honest, Boromir didn't really have that many lines anyway.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And just for generally speaking, the voice acting, usually there's a lot of people who do like a lot of voices, so there's probably like 3 or 4 other voice actors than the main heroes who do like the unit sounds and stuff.
Yeah, but by the way, speaking of Lord of the Rings, or well, yeah, that kind of, I suppose that franchise. I've been playing Shadows of Mordor quite a bit, and Gollum is making an appearance in that game, but it's not Andy Serkis. Is it called Circus?
Circus, I think, but yeah.
It's not him doing the Gollum voice, but you know, when I listen to it, it's like, this is probably him. It sounds almost exactly the same. It wasn't. It wasn't, and it was a really good impersonator. You couldn't really tell the difference unless you had someone tell you that this isn't him. So, yeah, they're doing well with the impersonation.
What is Shadows of Mordor anyway? Is it just...
It's this action, like, imagine taking Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, combine the bit with Assassin's Creed, and, you know, put its own spin on it, and put it in Lord of the Rings Middle-earth setting.
I saw that the combat was very similar to the Batman games.
Yeah, it's similar to the Batman games, but in my opinion, it's done better. Because, you know, Batman is not the most let's cut people up kind of guy. He's trying to let them down, I wouldn't say softly, but without, you know, death. That's kind of his philosophy, I suppose. While, you know, Talion, which is the main character, or I should put it in Shadows of Mordor, he cuts up orcs pretty violently at times, and the combos feel really satisfying. You know, when you pull them off, and all the executions and everything, it just feels like you're a badass.
I might have to check it out, but I'm kind of generally opposed to it, because it's just... I don't like action in my Middle-earth. I don't know, I want story, and I think there's been far too many games where they've like destroyed stuff, like they've had like mages or something. It's just like, well, no, there are no mages.
They do have like story and stuff, but the thing is that one thing that's I feel is pretty important to point out is that it's not called Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, Middle-earth,
because it doesn't have much to do really at all with the Lord of the Rings books and movies.
Well, that's good.
More has to do with Silmarillion.
Really?
And you know, because you know, there's a lot of this the game story is based upon events that happened in you know, in Silmarillion, and you know, before, like
the Second Age.
But, yeah, well, in the end of Second Age, I suppose, and you know, when the forging of the Great Rings and stuff like that whole thing. Which
I didn't know that.
Really interesting. You know, that's because I love Silmarillion almost more than Lord of the Rings.
I like them differently, I would say, but I can see what you mean. By the way,
I've read through Silmarillion like, I don't know, I have no idea, maybe 5 times each. Well, each is only one book, but 5 times one Lord of the Rings books, maybe 2 times.
I didn't know that. I didn't. I knew that you had read it once or something, but I didn't know you had read it so much. I might have to ask you some stuff. But hey, we're talking about much different stuff than this game now.
That is true, but it's still Mordor.
Yeah, and to be honest, this game, I don't know, it's hard to comment on like all of the stuff anyway, because there's long periods of not that much stuff going on anyway, so
yeah,
I feel that it's okay for us to...
I do love how, they just don't give a shit about their own soldiers whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, this one thing, being we don't really care if our soldiers die or not, and there's another thing being completely, utterly reckless to the point of being completely, utterly reckless, like this, running up with the soldiers to bombarding them afterwards for no reason.
I mean, a lot of people have made the comparison, the obvious, like, since Mordor is in the east, it was meant to be like a metaphor of Russia or something, or the Soviet Union. And I have to say that the treatment of the orc soldiers sort of doesn't at least speak against that.
Yeah, I know what I mean. It's the hordes of the east sort of thing. It's like, I don't know, it's been a fairly recurring theme in European history.
Yeah, it's always the east.
It's always the east that people come from, like the Huns, the Magyars, which I suppose is the Hungarians now, but they came from the east and settled down in Hungary.
Yeah.
And then we had the Mongols, and
yeah, and the Ottomans and Russians, and yeah.
It's just a bunch of hordes from the east, so maybe it's just a symbol of all of it. I do like that it feature quite a bit, especially if you play the evil campaign, that it feature the Men of Rune and Harad.
Yeah, you don't really get their story a lot. They're very sort of anonymous, and I for one like that, because I like the idea of the forces of evil, because orcs are so in a way a bit almost too simple or so. They're just like monsters.
They have no personality of their own.
Yeah, and I kind of like, because the real evil people here are like the Men of Rune and the Haradrim, because they are a bit more...
Umbar and the Black Numenorians that don't really feature in the movies at all.
Yeah, because they don't have as much motive for going to war. They just don't really like Gondor or so, but they are also human, but they have betrayed their kind of. And I would really like to learn more about the relationship between Gondor and those...
I think we should start a Kickstarter with the aims of resurrecting J.R.R. Tolkien so he can continue with the world and the world building.
Continue with the world? I thought you meant this one. Yeah.
No, well, that too, but because I'm so interested in what potentially was in the east beyond Mordor, and for that matter, south beyond Umbar and Harad.
There is some kind of map that shows like the entire...
but it's mostly what they assume based on the little instructions that exist, but it's not anything official. And what is beyond there is just pure and utter speculation.
Yeah, there's a lot of like stuff that I'd like to ask him, sort of.
Yeah, and since the two blue wizards, they went to the east, and what happened to them? Because it's two wizards for the entire east, so it's gotta be something.
I really like the storyline of the Istari, the wizards. That's why I was so excited about seeing like how Gandalf and Radagast would conduct a conversation in the Hobbit movie. And I'm pretty pleased with it, I have to say, even though a lot of people were disappointed with Radagast being quite goofy and stuff, but I thought it was okay.
I didn't really have any expectations for Radagast to begin with, honestly, so it was alright. But I mean, okay, so talking about the orcs and them being, they don't really have any character or personality in that sense. I feel that Shadow of Mordor did that quite well, because they had, going back to Shadow of Mordor by the way, you gotta play the game. But they had this whole nemesis system, as they call it. So there was this power structure within Sauron's army with orc captains and orc war chieftains and stuff. And they all had names, they all had strengths and weaknesses and stuff, and they would fight, you know, create events among themselves. So there was this orc captain that will have a feast of sorts, and if he's successful, he gains power. And if he gains more power, then maybe he challenges another orc captain, kills him, and gains his position, and you know, so on. They have their own individual lives. And you know, you can go and fight them and duel them. And if you die to them, they will gain power and stuff, and they will also remember you later on and comment on, you know, if you run away from them or if they run away from you, if you kill them or anything like that. They would remember that and comment on it next time you meet them. I found that to be a really cool system because it gave so much more life to the game, and you know, to the orcs as well.
Yeah, I know
then and some of them wouldn't die as easily, so they would come back after you kill them. So you kind of started your own sort of nemesis. Like you would have your own nemesis that you were fighting against, because it would be like, okay, you kill this guy 3 times, and he maybe killed you 2 times, so you have like, I'm gonna get that guy sometime. Best part about the game.
Alright, so going back to this game just shortly, I'm fighting the Nazguls at the moment. Fortunately, I got this eagle ability, which is very handy. It's basically like, they're basically the same strength. It's very hard to control them though, as you might have imagined there, because they kind of like...
camera wonk is really wonky.
Yeah, and you know, most of the time you can't even really see the eagles. You have to manually select their like little hero down there. Thank goodness they have one of those, because otherwise it would have been impossible. Also, one funny thing is that the catapults, I mean, if they had been firing on at my units, it would have been much more difficult, but they're actually firing at my useless buildings that are just part of the scenery, kind of.
Yeah, but then again, if they were all firing correctly, it would be so hard.
Yeah, and slightly unrealistic, to be honest, because it's not that easy to aim and whatnot. And I think they, you know, they wanted to portray that they were out to get civilians at large as well.
Yeah, but it's not really possible for this game really to portray the same scale as the battle was supposed to be like.
I know.
Pelennor Fields, or whatever. Yeah, I think it's called Pelennor Fields, right beneath Minas Tirith.
Yeah, Pelennor Fields. Yeah.
You know, it's a bit empty there, comparably, and also everything is really close to Gondor, like or to Minas Tirith, like the catapults standing basically 5 meters away from fire.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I'm a bit disappointed in this level, just generally. First of all, it wasn't... I mean, I'm doing medium difficulty here, but it offered very little challenge. I think that's partly due to that I was quite successful in having my units from previous missions survive. So I'm having quite a good setup of archers and stuff, and my population cap never really goes down. But, I mean, I have a hard time seeing how you would fail with this level, you know, even if... I mean, the difference between this and Helm's Deep is that in Helm's Deep you had to build your force from scratch, kind of, before you got the reinforcement. Here you get to have Faramir's gang, kind of, i.e. the units I had before. So that makes it much easier.
Already decked out and ready to go.
Yeah.
Experience and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder though, when I think when the eagles die, they die in this light.
Yes.
Cloud sort of thing. And when the Nazguls die, for some reason they also die in a light cloud. Why would the Nazguls disappear in light?
I don't know. I think it's just a sign that they've been smited or something. It's the same animation as Gandalf. Gandalf also has an animation that's like an attack like that, which is called something like Divine Light or something that he does. That can basically one-shot a Nazgul if Gandalf is quite high leveled, I think.
I think I remember that ability.
Yeah, these, by the way, are quite a pushover because, you know, my trebuchets are just like, you know, there's no challenge here really.
And we have a lot of trebuchets as well.
Yeah, and they're very cheap, and I was wondering actually, I tried building them like on the secondary level as well, but it didn't really seem to work. That would have been very overpowered.
Well, I mean, just compare the situation here from, you know, Helm's Deep. Because in Helm's Deep, sure, it was very easy to defend the keep, but at least it was hard, really hard to defend the outer wall. Here, it's really not that much of a challenge at all. It seems, at least.
Yeah.
Like no risk of being overwhelmed at any point, because let's be fair, then we can't ever get up to you.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it would take a lot. I mean, something they could have done to increase the difficulty is because in Helm's Deep, I thought it was really tough because of the. If you remember what was it called? The people who carried the mines, anyway, or like the.
Yeah, these berserkers getting there.
Yeah, but they weren't berserkers. They were like the guys who were carrying the bombs, kind of, but not the. Yeah, I don't know. That made it really difficult because you had to dodge both the those guys and the ones coming up on the main gate, and I would have liked a bit more challenge. I mean, eventually the gate will fall because when Grond comes, it's very difficult for it not to do.
I was gonna comment if Grond was.
Grond does make an appearance, and there it's like it's very unbalanced because Grond. You know, it's impossible to, or you probably could destroy Grond if you're like on the outside, but Grond goes straight through your gate, ignores your units pretty much, and just destroys the gate instantly. So it's like, why couldn't they? I mean, that's a bit too overpowered in my opinion, even for Grond. Why couldn't they stretch that difficulty out so it would be a bit? And to be honest, I've played a lot more difficult missions during the campaign than this one, so it's like Minas Tirith, they could have increased it a little bit.
Yeah, and they could have. It's a bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
And here's the Men of Ruin.
Yeah, and you will see exactly how useful they are.
Since they just run up to the gate and
yeah, they run up to the gate and make their sacrifice, kind of.
Oh, I love that eye because I always played Mordor in skirmish game from this game.
Did you?
Actually, when it was.
Oh yeah, in the skirmish games, that's multiplayer, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, versus Deia and stuff.
Yeah.
I love Sauron's voice when you activate it.
What does that eye do? I haven't really.
I think it gives a damage boost and armor boost and stuff like that. There's Gron.
Yeah. And I tried summoning Rohan here too.
I should know this since I played, but read Silmarillion so many times. But I think Grond was the name of the weapon of Morgoth or Melkor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that too, actually. But neither I, so to say, know what that is. I know there is something like that, but I can't remember either. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, Grond. I was firing with pretty much all of my arch units and some of my Rohan units, and the gate just was destroyed in like 3 hits or something, which is fair enough, that's how Grond should be, but Jesus Christ, give it a bit more like...
If anything could have happened a bit earlier. Yeah. It's now only 2.5 minutes away from reinforcement by the.
Yeah, and that's also something they could have waited a bit with that. I think it's a bit too soon. Yeah.
I was just going to comment that you have almost 40,000 in resources.
Yep, I mean the resources are endless pretty much, which is good. I think that's how it should be in this sort of total, like full out battle or so. Trying to grab the troll there, by the way, with limited success, because the fire archers are
wonder what the difference would be if it was more like Helm's Deep and you didn't have troops from before with experience and upgrades and stuff. And you did have a lower amount of resources and you started with basically a non-existent army you had to build up from scratch.
But the thing is, I would have been fine with this setup if they just had a bit more enemies, because my walls haven't been entered once, and I don't know. It's just I wouldn't say it's it's too easy, but it's too easy because it's not balanced well enough, and that's a bit of a difference. They could have balanced out the enemy's attacks a lot more.
Because they always centered around, you know, you have these stations where you have the catapults and trebuchets, you know, on each side of the gate, and the enemies are concentrating on a section that is basically 2 of those stations away. That's the only places for orc come, and then it's like 4 or 5 beyond that, where you already have trebuchets, but there's no enemies coming.
Yeah.
And you know, if had it taken away those stations and you know made some other way of them at some point attacking from the side more, you know, so it was always guaranteed that they would come up the wall. In some ways, you have to react to it.
Oh, I didn't see this when playing through, by the way, but my stupid trebuchets are firing at my own units. And Boromir's doing quite a good job at holding the line here.
And here's the Men of Rune, they're actually doing damage on you.
They're very good, yeah. I think they're one of the best sword infantry units in the game.
I know that the orcs, once again playing skirmish, which is my only experience of playing Horde. My only experience of playing Mordor. They are very, very cheap because they're free. At least the standard orcs are. But I always built Haradrim because they hurt like hell.
Yeah, they're very, very mobile spear units. Oh, and here's my Rohirrim army that mainly consists of archers on foot.
Not quite what happened.
Yeah, not as epic. And here I just realized my mistake of charging a troll. That's never good. So I kind of try to flee, but then it's too late, and it's like,
Micromanagement.
Yeah, I know. It's at times in this playthrough I haven't done a very good job at all, to be honest. But oh well.
The worst is that you have to manually move out your units when the troll goes in rage mode and basically becomes invincible until it dies.
I know. I don't know how many times during this playthrough that I've ranted about that. It's really powerful and annoying.
It's mostly annoying.
Yeah.
Especially if you know you have to use or you know when you have your heroes and they get knocked around and just flying all over the place.
The lines in this game are so generic sometimes. Did you notice how Boromir there said, "We should never have come here," and that's what he says in the movie when they've gone to Moria.
Yeah.
Or something, and it's
but
like
maybe he didn't want to come back to home.
No, actually, he says that in the mountain pass, I think, or yeah, I don't know, but he says it sometimes.
In that section, somewhere in that section, I can't actually put it myself. But I like that you know you have 300, 270 something in population before Rohirrim, and then afterwards you got like a surge of over 400.
Yeah. And here I'm trying to do something like in the movie or something, but then I realized, damn, this isn't gonna fly, so...
Cool.
Yep. I will say, though, that one thing that this level does have going for it in terms of difficulty is that the waves don't stop.
Unlike in
yeah, because Helm's Deep...
just producing units from buildings and that's all.
Yeah.
For elephant. But do we get to see Legolas doing his whole sliding across from Rumikil?
Yeah, I missed that ability in the... And here, this is... I don't know why I did this. Why did I do this? I just figured, you know, I want the epic feeling and stuff, but I just forgot the realism of the game, sort of.
And the realism with orcs and trolls. I know what you mean.
Yeah, with the Haradrim spearmen. Yeah, it's very chaotic, this part of the level, I have to say. And then there's like a...
wrap it all up.
I'm trying to wrap it all up, and you know, I have loads of units and there's no real problem, but it's still a problem because I'm kind of taking a bit too lightly on the challenge, kind of.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you haven't brought down your troops from the wall.
Yeah, but that would have been, you know, I want to stay somewhat true to what happened. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I am. But then again,
you gotta sally out.
then again, here it's like I start losing lots of heroes. I think Mary has already died, actually.
Yeah, I think
Mary died in the start. Yeah.
Just did the whole thing with the Witch King, but it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, he does help kill the Witch King. But yeah, and you know, I have no real... I don't really know how many units I have left and stuff like that, and there I had forgotten units, so it's all very chaotic at this point. And they're all injured, and here I just, you know, I kind of panic because I have all of my Rohan units. I don't want to lose them all, so I just kind of like flee to the side of the wall in the vain hope that the enemy units will kind of go like, oh well, we'll go after Gondor. But they don't. They really have it in for Rohan, so they... And you know, my Rohirrim can't really deal with that many trolls and stuff like that.
Yeah. I do like though that they aren't completely invulnerable to damage while doing that thing. Because the trebuchet just knocked him down. While he was his little
I've noticed that too. Oh, and here I'm, speaking of trebuchets, I'm getting my ass handed to me by my own trebuchets as they fire at the orcs. I hate that. I hate automatic friendly fire. I know...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know that I should be micromanaging it better, but it's just... I don't know. Would it make sense for a trebuchet lieutenant or whatever to go like, I see some Rohan units there, I better fire anyway?
Maybe one of the commanders really doesn't like Rohan at all.
Yeah.
But sir, we have Rohirrim down there. Fire anyway.
He's like that orc. Late as usual, Rohirrim scum.
I can imagine that being your voice.
I really like that particular orc that I quoted, I suppose, from the movie. The orc with the skull on his helmet. He's kind of like the second in command to Gothmog, the really ugly orc with the barf face. It's very weird, by the way, that one of the main commanders is an orc in this battle, by the way. You'd think that all of the Nazguls would kind of outrank him, but I suppose they're a bit different. And here again, I'm desperately searching for somewhere to resurrect my heroes.
Yes, I noticed that before.
But I have no idea where to click. It should be like the Citadel somewhere, but I don't know where that is, so I'm just kind of like, ugh. And also at this point I know that Aragorn's army will come at some point, but I don't know when. So I'm kind of like... Yeah. So I'm wondering whether I should...
You know, if you played this long enough, you probably could have done it just by the Gondorian troops alone, without, you know, the Rohirrim coming to help you.
Well...
You know, if you played it well enough, I suppose.
Yeah. Eventually, for sure. But it's still pretty tricky to get all of the... You know, it costs a lot of units to get one of the bases down, and then I have to get the other one down. Meanwhile, all the other units coming, and those Mumakil over there coming through the base, a bit awkwardly, by the way. They're really tough as well.
You know, as an avid Mordor player, you're saying that getting one of those orc pits up to... Because, you know, they take really long to make one unit of orcs, unless they are a level 3 and you have produced enough of that, because then you can produce quicker the higher level they are. And getting them up to max level and having some random units just go into your base and destroy it is like, oh god, it's the worst thing ever. So good job on irritating the AI.
Yeah, I love using my Rohirrim units as that, just like a sabotage unit.
So was it a pick between either Rohirrim or the elves? Or could you get it both?
Yeah, no, well, I can get both, but I...
It's like on that tier, you think, like, oh god.
Yeah. Yep. I think I have more, like, friendly fire kills than the enemy has kills on me, pretty much.
It seems like it. Okay, well, apart from, you know, when your charge against that other base kind of died and everyone was destroyed by Mumakils and trolls.
Yeah. And you see, they just keep pouring. So here I'm actually starting to feel a bit worried because I don't really have that many.
Yeah,
And you know, the
on
gate is down
the
now,
population,
so.
like, you had 270 or something when Rohirrim came, and then you went up to 750.
Yeah, something like that. And now
It was
I'm
a
down to
massive,
350
massive
again.
increase. And now you're 350. So you've lost a lot.
Yeah.
All your archers and stuff from the majority of your Rohirrim army.
Yeah, I mean, all the mounted units are pretty much gone. So, I don't know. I haven't played the Black Gate yet, actually. I don't know whether or not I should play a couple of more levels, actually, before that, just to get more units available.
Getting upgrades for it. That's really annoying, you're standing there. Why don't they have ladders as well as those other things? You know, just having a couple of orcs on the sides with ladders. You know.
No
Oh god.
idea.
That poor orc troll died really quick.
And why do they send in the battering rams, like, head on here? I mean, send in some units first, for God's sake.
Is there a gate to the second level?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm pretty
otherwise
sure.
I figured, you know, if the game realized, okay, the gate is down, no need to send any more battering rams. And then
Yeah.
a different way based on that. But if there's a second gate, I suppose.
Awaken the army of the dead!
Oh, and here we go, by the way.
We have almost too many heroes.
Yeah, and imagine if... I mean, I've already killed some off. I try to get rid of them, but they just keep on coming. But yeah, I mean, at this point you've won the level pretty much, because the Army of the Dead is invincible except for magic damage, I believe, and there's only a very few units that can do that anyway. So.
Yeah, oh god.
That's really cool, though. You have to admit that like they climb the Mumakil just like in the movie. I love that they made that. You know, the Army of the Dead, they're in the game for such a short time, unless you have that. There's this end tree ability kind of with it, but
and I think you know, Isengard and Mordor have the Balrog as the equivalent.
oh right, okay.
And I think the Balrog is one I've seen kill Army of the Dead fairly effectively, since, you know, his whole fire breath and, as you say, magic damage is the only thing that kills.
What are we waiting for?
Yeah.
But still, Sauron's Eye is
Filthy beast!
basically.
Shall not see daybreak.
But yeah, at this point, I kind of have the feeling as when I was a kid and I used to play strategy games, I used some kind of cheat or something with like immortal units or something. But you know, that's just how it is, and that's how the story went. So I shouldn't feel so guilty.
It was supposed to be sort of your reward for lasting as long would be to end, you know, the level in a powerful way. But since you didn't really have that.
Oh, and by the way, you will notice that Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli, three of the main like heroes of the story, and especially the movies, they are level 5, which is you know, even Faramir is level 5 for God's sake. Eomer and Gandalf are level 8. So I think that's a sign that they're used surprisingly little, I would say, in the game. You know, you mainly play with Eomer and Faramir, to be honest.
Yeah.
Elves will sing
Because, you know, it's, a lot of it is based in Rohan. And you know, there's a lot of addition, because there's certain missions you need to proceed to the next, like some mandatory ones and some which are optional, like almost like optional quests, like you can take over this territory and you get some bonus to next game or next one.
Yeah. I like how they're having a party on top of the cliff there, kind of like the coronation of Aragorn, but still not.
With less coronation.
But yeah, overall, I'm just slightly underwhelmed with this level. It wasn't at all as epic as I would have liked.
And it's not as epic as Helm's Deep was, comparably, because Helm's Deep could more like reflect the battle of Helm's Deep better than Minas Tirith.
Oh well, this was Minas Tirith. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.